Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, if you're feeling extra cheeky of course. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. And our first story is from Equivalent Ladder 197 from the Off My Chest subreddit and says, my brother proposed to my fiance, his ex, and I'm pissed. My 28 male brother, Mark, 26 male, used to date my fiancée, Jen, 26 female, a year ago. For context, they dated back in August 2022. They were only together for a month before he broke things off with her because he was bored of being in a relationship and never really wanted to settle down anyway. At the time they were dating, I was in a different state, so I had no idea he even had a girlfriend, and I had no idea who Jen was until I met her. Jen and I met at a bar when I moved back in October and hit it off really well. She was easily the most beautiful and intelligent woman I'd ever met, and we met up a few times before we made it official. Fast forward to December, and I finally bring her up to my family and propose them meeting her at Christmas. They knew I was in a relationship, but I'm not the most open about my personal life, so I kept details about her to a minimum, until I knew how serious we really were. My parents asked to see pictures and they started passing my phone around the dinner table. Mark saw it and blew up, calling me a shit brother for dating his ex-girlfriend, and he demanded I break it off with her. I refused. When I asked Jen about it, she confirmed they dated and gave me details about their breakup. It took a few weeks, but eventually Mark stopped bringing up me dating his ex, and I thought he was over it. On Jen's birthday this year, I took her out to a fancy dinner with both of our families and our closest friends, and I asked her to marry me. Mark flipped once again and blew up about me proposing to her, which I and my sisters immediately shut down. The incident happened this past weekend. Mark had been pretty quiet about the whole thing for the last 2 months. I didn't see him much and figured he went low contact with me, which I had no problem with. Then he invited me and Jen for family dinner at his apartment with my parents and sisters. I thought it was weird, but my parents and sisters were also going, so we agreed to go. The dinner was nice, nothing too fancy, and we moved to the living room to talk. About 30 minutes into normal conversation, Mark stood up and told us he had an announcement. He made a long speech about being happy to have his family around for his big moment. Then he got on one knee and pulled out this cheap ring while asking Jen to marry him. Jen was confused and obviously uncomfortable, and he demanded that he put it away and stand up. My dad tried to make a grab for Mark, but I got to him first and punched him. I won't repeat most of it, mostly because I was too angry even to listen to most of it, but he said something along the lines of wanting to show me that Jen wasn't really into me and just wanted to get back at him. Before it could get any worse, my parents rushed me out and promised to talk to him. It's been a few days since it happened and I'm still pissed off. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm scared Jen might have second thoughts marrying me because of this. Any advice? Can you imagine having the absolute audacity to arrange something like this, the whole family to get together and then propose to your brother's fiance in front of everyone? I'm not sure if there's ever any coming back from that. I mean, how do you trust someone who's willing to do that again? That's the type of person to stand up at the wedding day and shout they object to it in front of everyone. It's the type of person who will stand up at your wedding reception and go off on their own little speech about how he is the ex and he's the one that was wronged. I mean, I don't think Jen have second thoughts on this, because anyone reading this would be like, holy fuck, what is Mark up to? Why is it always Mark? God damn it. But Silver Appointment says, why are you talking to your brother for? He's obviously jealous and you'll get no sense off of him. He proved that by proposing to your fiancé in front of the family, he has no respect or morals. I'm guessing he thought Jenny would stay home, moping about how she lost the best thing ever, when in fact she went out and found you. It hurts him to see her happy. Don't bother speaking to him and just block him. It'll be for the best. He's not going to give you his blessing. His side of the relationship doesn't matter. He ended with her because he didn't want to be tied down, full stop. There's nothing to talk about except his hurt feelings. Illustrator Slow says, I think you and Jen are moving ridiculously quickly. Even aside from the whole she's your brother's ex thing. You got engaged after knowing her less than a year. You still haven't even spent an entire year with her yet. What's the rush? Why are you trying to lock her down before you really know her? And why is she agreeing to this instead of seeing the red flags? You both need to slow down. Hot Examination replies to that and says, who are you to say if they're moving quickly, lol? It's so wild to me that people think there is a correct amount of time to do anything serious in someone else's relationship. He stated they instantly hit it off and he saw her value right away, unlike his brother. Good for them. Three Heathen's mum says, while I don't condone violence, I'd say now your brother realizes you are serious about your relationship with Jen. Also hope it was a decent punch. Hopefully Jen and your relationship is good. Signal says cut him off. He has zero respect for either of you. Gives a shit, he's only pissed because you two are actually happy and his toy got over him. Found true love and is actually happy. His ego is hurt, and this won't get any better. Imagine your wedding with him there. If you have children, etc. God no. TikTok Toe says brother obviously overreacted. That being said, I think most people will not be happy to see an ex back in their life unexpectedly. Breakups tend to bring out a lot of insecurities and mental hang-ups. You didn't do anything wrong by dating his ex accidentally, but on an emotional level, the discovery of this event caused him discomfort and likely led him to feeling a loss of control and lashing out dramatically in order to convince himself he still has control over the situation. Not to say that this justifies lashing out at you like that. I would hope most people in these circumstances would just go low contact and make their displeasure clear in a less splashy way, or not at all if they have class. Congrats on the engagement. And one more from Ocean Homesteader who says, so Jen never once told you that she had dated your brother. This is very much a red flag, and before you say it never came up, honestly, if you hadn't discussed each other's past and family, you're rushing the whole marriage thing. The whole situation is a bit gross, honestly. I've never dated a friend's ex, let alone my brother's. So first, OP edited the post later that day and said, first, thanks for reading and responding. I've been reading the comments between last night and this morning and valid points were made. There isn't an update, there is in a moment, since the only people I've spoken to since that dinner is Jen and my little sister. I want to clarify a few things that I saw in the comments. 1. Jen and I are newly engaged. It was one of those feelings where we both knew we're in it for the long run. As fast as it is, I'm sure about her. 2. When we met, I was the one who approached her, not the other way around. Whether she knew or had suspicions of us being related, I don't know. I asked after finding out they dated and she says she had no idea. I didn't have a reason to doubt that, but I can admit this seemingly overreaction on Mark's part does raise red flags. 3. I had no idea she and Mark dated when I met her. Mark and I aren't close at all. We used to be, but as we grew up we drifted and talked less and less. Before I moved back, we didn't really speak much aside from special days like his or my birthday. Jen knew of my family, but not much until I decided I was ready to introduce them to her. When she and Mark met again, I didn't get a sense of any residual feelings on either part. She didn't treat him like a stranger, but she also wasn't overly affectionate with him either. 4. I was told this was a relationship that lasted a month. I didn't think I needed permission from Mark to ask her to marry me, but maybe that was wrong of me. I'm not sure. That being said, I plan to talk to Mark this weekend to lay everything out on the table and figure out what's up. I never asked for his side of their relationship, which is my fault for not doing my due diligence. If anything major or enlightening happens, I'll update, but for now, that's all I have. Opie updates 2 days later and says, first I want to thank everyone for reading. It's been a busy weekend, so I haven't had the chance to reply to many people. But I did edit in responses to most common questions I saw in the comments of the original post. Again, thank you. I appreciate it all, even the criticisms. Now for the update. I called Mark and asked him to meet up with me at my place to talk. I told him I preferred Jen to be around for the talk as well, but I was cool with it if he didn't want her there. He agreed to talk to both of us and showed up at my place around noon today. It was pretty quiet for a few minutes before I started the conversation. I apologized for not warning him I would be proposing to Jen, and I apologized for hitting him. He said it was whatever, but he appreciated the apology. I told him what Jen had said about their relationship and breakup when I asked her about it, and I asked him to confirm if it was true. I pretty much said that his reaction throughout this whole thing has been extreme. I wanted to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding their relationship or downplaying how serious they were. He confirmed that they only dated for a few weeks and he broke up with her because he has lost interest. Jen asked if he was acting like this because he still has feelings or regrets about ending things with her. He said he could admit that he thought she was more attractive than when he last saw her, but there weren't any feelings or regrets. He said he just didn't like seeing a girl he dated, even if it was short term, with his older brother, and as a man I shouldn't have violated him by pursuing things with his ex. I reminded him that I had no idea they dated. It wasn't like I consciously did this knowing their history together. He shrugged me off and said it didn't matter. I still should have broken it off. He was adamant that if the roles were reversed, he would have done the same thing, which I doubt. I asked him why he proposed to her if he didn't have any lingering feelings. Basically, to sum it up, he was talking about it to one of his buddies, who was around when Mark and Jen dated, and the guy put the idea in his head that maybe Jen knew from the start that we were related and was doing this to get back at him considering Jen had been hung up on him after they ended. He and his friend thought it would be a good idea to test it and see if they were right. So he came up with the idea to propose and see if she dumped me for him. Oh lord. Jen asked him to elaborate on why he thought she was hung up on him. He told her that he heard she was asking about him following the breakup and still hanging out at the places they used to go to, so it was a valid assumption. Then for her to pop up randomly with his brother affirmed his suspicions. Jen told him she had only asked about him once following the breakup and she'd been hanging out at those places with friends before they started dating. She wouldn't avoid them because of a breakup. She also told him she was offended at the idea that she would go as low as to pursue me, just to get back at him. He shrugged and gave her a half-assed apology, but said she had to see it from his point of view. He asked her if she really didn't know, and she told him that she didn't see the resemblance in us until we were in the same room. We act nothing alike, so it never crossed her mind, and he said okay. That pretty much wrapped up the conversation. He did tell me before he left that I could take back his invite to the wedding because he can't bring himself to support our relationship, knowing he used to date her. I told him he didn't have to worry about that, as he was most likely going to be uninvited anyway. It's been a few hours since our talk and I do feel better. My parents aren't too happy about him being uninvited, but they understood that it was a mutual decision and probably for the best. My sisters told me they knew he didn't have a good reason for being an arsehole, and they don't blame me for not wanting him at the wedding. As of now, I'm going to limit contact with Mark, and I doubt he'll reach out to me anytime soon either. Once again, I want to thank everyone for reading and commenting, and if anything significant happens, I'll update again. Someone asks, why didn't she know of your family? Opie says we hadn't discussed my family much in the beginning of our relationship. I left home to get away from them, my parents specifically, and started reconciling at my sister's request when I decided to move back home. I was open about not being close with them when Jen asked, and she was okay with being left in the dark considering the circumstances. Brother is absolutely wild in this situation, and I know I read way too much Reddit and I've read a lot of wedding stories, and I can't help but feel the update in the future about him turning up to the wedding. And the usual advice on this kind of thing is have security for your wedding when you do have it, because who the fuck knows what's going to happen. Holy moly. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from FewInside326 from the Off My Chest subreddit. And before we do get into the story, I do want to give you a couple of warnings. It does contain mentions of suicide, so if you do want to skip the story, always please feel free to do so. Timestamps are down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. And it's titled, My Husband Left Me for Our Babysitter 2 years ago. I'm still not over it. I've been struggling with mental health issues for a long time. We hired a babysitter, and she wasn't just with kids. She was with my husband too. I started working during that time, so I needed it, but my husband goes on to have an affair with her. He just said he fell out of love with me. He doesn't find me attractive anymore. I was crushed and broken. I filed for divorce, and now I'm a single mother with 2 kids. The woman he left me for is much younger and prettier than I am. She's in her 20s and has a nice body. I'm still struggling to lose weight from my childbirth. Sometimes I feel this was my fault. If I had just been a stay-at-home wife, we wouldn't need to hire a nanny. He would have never had an affair with her. Is this my punishment for wanting to just be more than a mum and a wife? Is this my punishment for me going back to work instead of being a mum? Don't get me wrong, I love my kids. They will always be my first priority, but I can't shake this feeling that I invited doom into my own house. I do hear a few people say that I should have kept an eye on my husband. I should have been a good wife. otherwise he wouldn't cheat. I still love him. I hate that I still love him. I hate that he is happy while I am miserable. I tried to kill myself a few months ago, but I didn't because of my kids. I love them. I know they are not to blame. I feel unattractive, useless, and like a joke. I couldn't keep my marriage. Why does he get to have a good life after hurting me this way? Isn't he the evil person? Why is he blessed in life? Fuck, that was a sad read. The second paragraph where OP's heard a few people saying that you should have kept an eye on your husband, that you should have been a good wife, otherwise he wouldn't cheat. Who the fuck are these people out there that's saying this kind of thing? And the real upsetting thing in this, like all of it's upsetting, but when you was reeling off, is this my punishment for wanting to be more than a mum and wife? Is it your punishment for wanting to go back to work and, for bringing her in as the nanny? And, if it wasn't the nanny, it was going to be someone else. Arsehole's gonna arsehole, right? And I know it's easy for me to say, but don't blame yourself for his shitty behavior at all. And there's just a strong chance that that nanny's gonna get the same treatment that you're receiving in the future as well. Alpaca says, living your best life and being free of him is your best revenge. He's a terrible person who broke his vows and hurt you. You get to choose whether he keeps getting to hurt you or if you see going to free yourself from his grasp. Go and live life knowing that you deserve better. Find someone who will love you as you. You are not to blame. Some Coyote says, if you're a stay-at-home mum, he would have cheated on you during his working hours. He would have found a colleague or met a woman online. He's a cheater. He would have found some ways to cheat on you either way. Well, your ex is scum. You had to carry his children. Your body had to suffer for his kids to be born, and then he leaves you the first chance he gets. Please open your eyes. He's a piece of shit. This relationship has ruined your self-esteem. I really hope you channel the love you still have for him to love yourself more. He's not worthy of your love. I hope you find some time to get out and meet people, hang out, even hookups if it can help you get over your trashy ex. Go to the gym or do some activities with your kids. Take care of yourself. Next commenter says he didn't fall out of love. He found someone else. If you didn't have a nanny, he would have found someone else. It's ugly, but it's true. Some men are like this. They believe they found someone better. The truth is they are not grown up and they can't commit. It's not your fault at all. As a person who was cheated on and told I fell out of love with you, I can't tell you I also blamed myself for months before realizing I did nothing wrong. A relationship is a matter of commitment. You won't be in love like in the beginning every day for the rest of your life. You choose one person to share good and the bad with. Sadly, some men are kids. I believe they have their karma one day, and I pray that you find someone much better than that. Lilac Filter says the trash took itself out. OP, if you never hired a babysitter, he would have still cheated on you with someone else, and as harsh as that sounds. In situations like this, you've got to ask yourself, who'd you rather be in the situation? The cheating ass, the desperate homewrecker, or you, the loyal and strong one? You're right, he doesn't deserve to be happy, but let me tell you, he will eventually cheat on the homewrecker with someone else. Cheaters never change. One day, the right guy will come into your life, and you will realize how much of an upgrade and blessing that will be. Have you tried going to therapy? I know therapy doesn't fix everything, but if you haven't, maybe try and give it a go. Trust me, OP, you will thrive in life once you've fully let him go. He's a piece of shit, and karma will get to the both of them. Trust me. 3 months later, OP comes in to update the post and says, hello people. I know this post doesn't need a special update, but I wanted to thank all of you. Your words have kept me going for 3 months. Some even gave me good advice, and I can see the drastic changes in my life. The first thing I did was change my therapist. I've researched and came to realize that he wasn't good. He wouldn't really help me with triggers and such, and would just nod. I was wasting money on him. It took me a month, but I found a good one. She helped me process through my insecurities as well. I don't mean to sound sexist, but I think a female therapist is better for me because she can relate to things a man cannot. No shade to male therapists, I'm sure there are many good ones, but my options are limited. I spend my time trying out new things and spending time with my kids a lot. I no longer feel this agony and guilt over my marriage. I'm still healing, it's a long way to go. I started dressing cute, not for men, but for me. I started to feel like my old self. I'm currently dating someone that is very new, and I haven't introduced him to my kids yet, but he knows I'm a single mum and is aware of my situation. One of the main reasons why I avoided dating is because I'm afraid of having my heart broken. but now I'm slowly overcoming that irrational fear. Even if this relationship doesn't work out, I wouldn't mind. Also, the stigma people have for single mums have made me more insecure about myself. Anyway, thanks to everyone for supporting me. I still read your comments for encouragement. A commenter says to OP below that, and that's awesome. You're awesome, and best wishes moving forward. You deserve it, and it's so great to see you know you do. You're already far from where you were 3 months ago, and it's a lot. I know it might sound petty, but make sure to make a review on the old therapist so no other women with the same issues like yours seek help from him. Maybe he specializes in other areas and has a different approach. Some just let you vent, be a safe place to talk about whatever. Others take a more direct, help you plan your next steps. Some help you find coping mechanisms, etc. But drop the ball in what you needed to move forward. And it has little to do with him being a man. A good therapist will analyze your progress and refer you to a more capable therapist if he doesn't have the time and skills. But anyway, it's great to see you found a good fit in your current therapist. Which OP replies and says, I did leave a review. Not a really bad one, like, oh my god, he's the worst therapist ever. More subtle, like, he might have worked for other people but not for me. He failed to analyze my problems and give me advice or proper counseling. Maybe he's not good when it comes to handling issues with women. I don't think he is objectively a bad therapist. Like one of my friends said, just because the foundation doesn't suit you, doesn't mean it is a bad foundation. It's Fenty beauty to my skin. Lol. And I do like to see a happy update. I know OP went through a lot of shit to get where they are right now, but it's nice to see they're taking these positive steps that's improving their life. And like I always say, I can always sort of picture it as like fog being lifted around you as you start to move on from the shit that you was going through. And I really love that they mentioned that they're doing stuff for themselves, no one else, and that they're starting to thrive like that one comment said. But what do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you've been through something similar before in the past. If you want to share it, absolutely please feel free to do so. Of course, never any pressure though. Just you being here, getting involved in the channel, sharing your love, support and time with one another is just absolutely amazing. So thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.